Disneyland is run like clockwork. I was so impressed. So many times I thought, geez, you know what? If Walt Disney was to come back today to Disneyland, he would be absolutely impressed with everything that has happened in the 70 years that it's been operating. If we're not growing, you're not growing. Welcome back to another podcast. If you don't know me or haven't met me before, my name is Nathan Rigney and I'm the Profit Generator. And today I am going to be talking about Disneyland. I have just come back from California, went over to Disneyland, dream holiday for my 7 and 9-year-old Madison and Cooper. And I know that when I was 7 or 9, all I ever wanted to do was go to Disneyland. So today, what I want to do in today's podcast is just from a business perspective. I was so impressed with Disney. When I was there, so many times I thought, geez, you know what? If Walt Disney was to come back today to Disneyland, I would say that he would be absolutely impressed with everything that has happened in the 70 years that it's been operating. And it just so happens that we were there for the 70th anniversary of Disneyland. And I got to tell you, it was a magical experience being there. From a business perspective and being a person that's in business, I just couldn't believe how well Disneyland was run. For me, going to Disneyland from the very moment of not even entering the park before you even get there, this whole magical experience. But from a business perspective, you know, when you first get to that park and you're walking through the parking lot, I guess the bus zone to get to security, everyone is just so happy. And Disneyland was so customer focused. And from the security guards that are taking you through the park and then finally getting into the park, it was just all about that customer experience. And it's really funny, like going to America, it can be really hit and miss. It can be, and it's really extremes. It's like people in a service environment, either 100% or I found that customer service can be as low as 1%. It's not in the middle, it's either one or the other. And I don't know why that is. Particularly, I'd never had one bad experience in Disneyland, but I know when I went to go collect my car from Avis, and this is not Avis across the board, but just this one particular person that I dealt with at Anaheim, he couldn't wait to get me out of the office. It was sign here and almost to the point, fuck off now, you got your car. And that's how it felt for me, but I gotta say, like being in Disneyland, there was nothing like that. I want to go through just a few things that I think would absolutely stand out items about running a business, and I think that really the lesson is that we can apply those same lessons that have been clearly successful for Disneyland, and I think they're great lessons for us in business, and I think we can apply them. My number one top thing that I think was amazing in Disneyland is systems and processes. So I could tell straight away that all the staff are probably very well trained. Everything from that customer experience, always having a smile. And I'm thinking as well, there must be people that leave home, they probably have horrible things that are happening in their life. There could be good things, bad things, and everyone has bad days. But the feeling that I had was that as soon as they step outside of their house, they're all 100% about that customer experience and they are leaving whatever problems they have at the door at home. So looking at that, you just don't get that style of employees understanding that culture with it not coming from the top. Really, with every business, like I've been in businesses where there is a culture everywhere and there's good cultures and bad cultures. And the culture must come from the top. If you ever want to have a winning business and you want to have good culture, it needs to start from the top. The employees must go through a whole lot of training and really understand about the systems in a particular park. Whether there be all different types of people that are doing different types of skills or jobs. So from security or people that work in the retail shops or in the food centres or even the people that are sweeping the paths or the roadways within the park. They're all well trained and you could see that, but also knowing what each employee's role is in that park. You could see that it was quite well documented. It must be really systemized that they know what they're doing, and yeah, you could just see that there was that training there. So particularly at night, like it's a well-oiled machine, so when they had their parades, you could see that the staff had the right training or they knew how to basically control the crowds and where they need to get to safely without any pressures. But even thinking about security and safety, having barricades between where the parade's going to be, and then also making sure that people are safe along the journey as well when they're watching. The customer experience, I think, was definitely really important, and what I really liked about Disney is the use of technology. So when we went to California, we went to more than just Disneyland, but what I liked about Disney was that you still had a paper copy of the map. And I know that seems like in today's day and age that why would you go and spend the money printing and all that? But it really did make that experience a whole lot better. And whilst we did have access to the app, the only downfall about the app was that it drains your battery on your phone really quickly. But I found that getting around the park was actually really well designed, first of all. So if I compared, say for example, Disneyland to SeaWorld. SeaWorld is a great park. It's got great experiences and I would recommend going, but the difference between SeaWorld and Disneyland is that Disneyland, every area of the park is almost like a land, or I guess a section, and each section got these characteristics that are very much about that area that you're in. As soon as you go into the Star Wars area, it goes from the great Western style theme to Star Wars. And the great thing about that is that if you know that your ride you're going to is in that part of the park, you know you're on the right path. Whereas when we went to SeaWorld, it was just all kind of one big blend. And because you actually also didn't get a paper physical map, it was really hard to determine on that basis as well, because it was badly planned out and mapped out when they designed it. It was really hard to work out where you were going, and then using your phone and only having a small map to see, I found it really hard. But what was great about Disneyland is that you did have that use of technology to book rides, and a lot of the theme parks are doing that now. So being able to book the rides, getting a fast pass, it meant that you could get on those rides and plan your day to get to those rides. So whilst you may be doing something else, you can book in to go to that ride and then get on. But the use of technology as well, like we paid for an extra package where every time we had a photo at a ride, you just scan the QR code from the ride with your phone, and then you had that particular photo on your phone to download. That was quite amazing. But then also coming back to that customer experience, they had professional photographers around the park where they would take a photo with Mickey, Minnie, or whoever it might be, right? But the best part about that was that when you had those professional photos, you didn't have to worry about doing the selfie with your phone. You didn't have to worry about giving your phone to someone else to go take a photo. They had Disney staff there that were ready to take professional photos, and then they had like basically an app ready to connect to your phone, and then the photo you could just download straight away as part of the service that they offer. So I think if we start off, we've got really good processes. Disneyland is using really good technology, and it's making that whole customer experience a whole lot more enjoyable. It's taking it to the next level. What I was also really impressed about Disneyland was visually the cleanliness. Everything from a staff member, like literally one morning we came in and a staff member there is polishing a bin. And I guess, like I said at the start of today's podcast, going back to the way Walt Disney thought, what his vision was, that vision has carried through to today, like 70 years on. It's all about family fun, having magic, but then also I imagine that everything had to be the best of the best. And I did not see one thing out of line. Whereas, say for example, when I went to Legoland, disappointingly, the little sculptures were falling apart and then in their gardens. And I love my gardening, right? And I appreciate a good garden. And there was weeds right through the garden. Whereas when I went to Disneyland, they didn't have it. There was none of that. Everything was clean. Everything was safe to sit down on. It's not going to be dirty. And if it was, someone would have come along and cleaned it. 100%, like everything was top notch. It really just did leave this whole wow experience with experiencing and seeing that, hey, there's a beautiful castle or there's whatever it is, it was always very clean, which I think is so important. You want to feel comfortable, and for a lot of people, like having a clean space is really important. Even particularly as well, when we went to the restaurants that were there, or even the bistros where it was probably more like the setting where you get your own food from a kitchen and then go and sit down. Those plates and everything was always being cleaned through. The staff were always very prompt about making sure that tables weren't just left with food. And that's really important as well, because when you start leaving food and stuff around, all the birds and whatever else start coming out to eat it. So very clean, and staff were on top of that. One of the other things we did as well at Disney is we actually didn't stay at Disneyland. Now, a lot of people think that you need to stay at Disneyland, the hotel connected to the park, and you don't have to. The reason we didn't do that was because it's probably a little bit more pricey and it's not really necessary. When you go to Disneyland, you are going there when it opens around 8:30, 9 o'clock in the morning, and then you're staying there till 11 o'clock at night. The whole park between Disneyland and the next door California Adventures, both parks provide so much entertainment from start to finish that all you really need your hotel room for is to sleep in. So for us, we didn't decide to spend the extra money by staying in the Disneyland resort, but we stayed at a really nice hotel that was called the Grand Legacy, which was great. It was clean, it was tidy, and it was walking distance to the park. So I recommend doing that if you're looking at going to Disneyland. But what you can do is, if you're not staying in Disneyland, you can book in a breakfast with basically all the cartoon characters. So you can have breakfast at, I think it was called Goofy's Kitchen. And literally Goofy, he's the head chef, and all the characters there are basically running around meeting you whilst you eat breakfast. So you get these beautiful buffet breakfasts you can go and choose. And look, I did take advantage of having ice cream and everything you probably shouldn't have for breakfast, including chocolate brownies. But hey, I'm in America, I'm on holidays. But yeah, you can have this great experience by going to Goofy's breakfast. And it's great and magical for the kids being able to eat their breakfast and then also see all the different characters from, I guess, Pluto to Minnie and Mickey, and then even the chipmunks. So that was really cool. But once again, coming back to that experience again, and even though Goofy's breakfast is outside Disneyland, all the food was top quality. It wasn't like sometimes you go to some ice cream machines and it just tastes really watered down. This was really top quality ice cream, and I love my ice cream. But right from the start, you get to have a photo with Goofy and they play around, and the staff are so friendly as well. But there's nothing is a problem when it comes to what I found when I was there. So that's another thing you could check out as well when you do, if you are thinking about going to Disneyland. But I think the last thing that I just want to tie off is just the memories that, if Walt Disney was to come back, the memories that Disneyland has created for the family. Yes, it is a lot of money to go there, and you can see why it is expensive to go to. Everything is like first grade quality. I think from the start to the finish of the day, particularly at the end of the night, like fireworks and the shows that they put on are next level. It just had this whole magical experience. And the choreography and the effort they put in behind the dancing and the shows that they put on was great. Let's bring all of this back into a business sense. Disneyland, yes, it is run like clockwork. And I tell you, what is clockwork? Clockwork is simply, it's processes and systems. Now, every business has processes and systems. And the reality is you might be a one-man band and it's all up in your head. Even as your team grows, those processes and systems are there. And it's really worthwhile going through the exercise of actually writing them down and documenting them. And Disney would have it be very much documented and systemized so that if someone leaves or someone comes in, whatever the scenario might be, that they can pick up a workbook or something like that and look at what that system is. Now, it's really good to actually go through that process and do that. And there's a lot of value in doing that, because when you do go through that process, there's no I in team. So get the whole team together. And I do this regularly in my own business. We talk through what the system is currently. So first of all, you want to document it. And if it's not documented, please document it and get it down on paper. The second thing is, then even though the system might work really well, every now and then, I'd say maybe every 6 months or a year, you got to go back to that system and say, hey, what worked really well and what didn't? What can we refine and make better? Processes and systems in every business is so important. It doesn't matter whether you're a small business, a big business like Disney, whatever industry it is, it's really important to fix up those systems. Have them documented and know what they are, and the whole team knowing what they are. The next thing, I think, looking at Disney, you look at a human resources perspective. HR is so important, because the number one thing with any business and the most important asset in any business is your people. Your talent, your people, they're the ones who actually help make the business actually happen. It makes your people, your staff in your business is what actually makes the cogs turn. So it's really important to understand. And you could see this, there was really good culture at Disney. And as I alluded at the start of the video, cultures are good and bad. And it really does start at the top with you as a leader in your business. So once again, no matter whether you're small or big, understanding, first of all, when we look at all our staff, we're having position descriptions and describing what that person needs to do. And in my business, we do that. And a lot of successful businesses do. They have a position description. And that's really important, because if, say, for example, a staff member sits outside of that description, you've got something to go back to say, hey, your employee to do 1, 2, 3 as described on your position description. So HR is really important, like looking at good cultures, making sure that there are really good rules set in place and really good principles set in place. And culture is one thing, but then having really good HR, human resources, means that if you have happy staff, you're going to have people that are willing to come to work. They're not going to be chucking sickies or sick days whenever they want, or not even being as productive. I've worked in places before where everyone turns up at 9 and everyone leaves at 5. No one is spending any minute longer than they have to in that workplace. But I found that with my business and other successful businesses, when staff are really happy being there, they're going to go that extra mile. So that's not to say that you're going to get extra hours of labor out of them. What it means is that you're going to have staff who are really efficient. And you could see that at Disney, the hours are passing really quickly and they're enjoying what they're doing. It doesn't matter if you're the sweeper, the guy who's checking bags when you go through security, or the operating the rides. You could see there was really good culture, which then created a lot of efficiencies, and then also would have meant that if you have happy staff, you're going to be more profitable as well. So I think you look at those two key things and you apply them to your own business, you too can have a successful business like Disneyland, and maybe one day you'll be celebrating your 70th anniversary in your business. Hopefully you'll still be alive to see it, or you might be like the second or third generation of family that are taking over your business. Well, guys, thank you for joining in. I really did enjoy talking about Disneyland today and getting to California and doing that. Look, if to enjoy the same sort of holiday and give something to your family, I have recently done a video on how you can get to somewhere like a family holiday like California using points, and you should really check that out. But basically, how can you use forced frugality, which is one of the things I teach in my Profit First methodology, that you can adopt in your business so that you can afford the holidays that you want, that you deserve for you and your family. Of course, guys, if you want to know anything about Disneyland or California, I've just done it, so it's all fresh in my mind. Please reach out, get in touch with me, and let's chat. Until next time, I'll see you later.